Hello, Brad here, just to say we're super proud that the Friday 5pm podcast is sponsored by the Malt Miller, the UK's best home brew store.
We use the Malt Miller for all of our homebrew experiments, as well as tapping them up for advice and binging on their awesome YouTube channel all the time.
That's why whenever we release a homebrew video, we put a recipe kit live on the Malt Miller, so you can brew with the exact same amazing ingredients that we did. The same ingredients used by pro brewers.
So alongside the Malt Miller's nitro-flushed hops, cold-stored yeast and milled-to-order malts, you can pick up recipe kits for our 5 Points Best Bitter, Russian River West Coast IPA, and now the fastest beer in the world, a hazy session IPA that goes from grain to glass in less than 48 hours.
Sign up to their newsletter at tinyurl.com/Malt Miller to get 5% off your first order. With the Malt Miller's amazing customer service and Johnny's 48-hour recipe, you could order the ingredients on a Monday and be drinking the beer by the weekend.
Speaking of which, it's Friday.
It's 5pm.
So enjoy this week's Friday 5pm podcast. Welcome back to Friday 5pm. I'm sorry if your weekend last week was just didn't quite feel right. It didn't get off to the right start. And then just for the whole weekend, you were sat there going, something feels wrong. And then you remembered we didn't have a Friday 5pm podcast. Did your weekend feel weird, Brad?
Yeah. It ruined my weekend, Johnny, along with all of the listeners, no doubt.
Try to keep the sarcasm undetectable there.
Yeah. Did I have a good weekend last weekend, you're asking? I can't even remember what I did last weekend, Johnny.
Brilliant.
No idea what I did last weekend.
We don't do much prep for this podcast, but I thought remembering what we did since the last one was the bare minimum. I
can tell you what I did last night, Johnny. I was in the local micropub to me now. One of them in New Cross called the Shirkers Rest.
You're always in there now.
Yeah, I've been there a few times. I quite like the vibes. Quite good. They've got a really excellent selection of cask stuff. And I can't remember how many lines of cask they've got. They've got a fair few lines, maybe like 4 or 5 lines of cask and loads of keg. And it's tiny. It is properly a micropub. I was drinking London Black on Nitro. You can only get it on Nitro. And it was tasting absolutely banging, as usual. And I tried the Anspach and Hobday Left Hand collab, which is called like Londorado. London and Colorado, because Left Hand are out in Colorado. And that was a best bitter, like quite a strong best bitter, which was also delicious. So that was what I was doing.
Left Hand?
Yeah.
The brewery that's famous for
pastry stouts and whatnot.
Well, possibly, but they're famous for making a nitro milk stout, like the nitro milk stout in the States.
Yeah.
So they did a collab and didn't do a nitro beer.
Yeah.
Fair play.
I guess because they've already got. I actually met the guys from Left Handed with the guys from Anspach when I was out with them a month or so ago. I think it was just before Christmas.
So when they were brewing the beer, probably.
Yeah. It was when they. Sorry, it was when they were over for that, and we were on the beer mile, just having a few beers together. And it was nice. Oh, I'll tell you what it was. It was at Domestock. That was where I met them. So the all nitro Anspach and Hobday festival that they put on at the end of last year. They were like nice people. Yeah, off in Colorado. So hopefully we might get out there someday to meet them. But I would recommend.
Has been on the list forever.
Londorado. I thought it was very good. I only had a half of it, but I thought it was very nice. Very, very tasty. Very, very tasty, Johnny. Nice bitter.
Well, I'm glad you can remember last night. We should probably address why there was no podcast last week, yes. which is the fact I haven't been very well, which is why there was also no warning that there wasn't going to be a Friday 5pm. You might be able to hear it in my voice. It's the illest I've been, I think, in a decade.
No way. Really?
Yeah. I mean, I don't generally get ill. I have a tradition of getting a cold at Christmas. That's about it.
Yeah.
But this knocked me on my arse in a way that I do not remember happening in a long, long time. So wow. Be careful out there. Don't kiss strangers or lick pavements or I don't know, go to Munich. I don't know whether I got it in Munich. I was feeling a bit ropey in Munich already.
No kissing strangers, no licking pavements. There goes my weekend. Oh,
Yeah, I know. Well, that was addressed specifically at you because I know your pastimes.
oh yeah.
But I've dropped in the name Munich, so we should talk about the fact
Go
that
on,
we
then.
were in
Munich.
one of the homes of lager.
Mate, pretty good.
For a total of was it even 72 hours? Oh, it must have been just over 72. No, just over 48 hours.
Yeah, just over 48. Yeah, it wasn't so. It felt like 72 because we packed fucking loads in, and we went sort of out to Bavarian castles and over to Bavarian industrial estates. Do you know what? The industrial estates there were a kind of different class, weren't they, to UK industrial estates?
They felt better maintained, a higher class of business.
Yeah.
Like what would we when we were walking to? So we visited a brewery called Giesinger Brewery, they were the first new brewery in Munich for 200 years, and they're trying to pour at Oktoberfest. It's an amazing story with some real characters. It's going to be a great video. But while we were walking to there, we came across it was a building shaped like I don't know,
yeah, it was super weird. I think it was maybe like a large hadron collider or something in a building with no windows. It's crazy.
The thing I was going to actually compare it to is the slide that you get at Center Parks.
Yeah,
like the funnel, and you come out into like a big kind of conical glass.
Yeah. I know what you were talking about.
It was shaped like that, but like 10 times the size.
Yeah,
with no windows and no doors, as far as I could tell.
Some sort of scientific giant machine, in a sort of industrial park, but like super slick looking. No signs on the building whatsoever with what it was. Big old fence and cameras around it. They're probably developing something terrible in there, I imagine, Johnny.
Well, yeah, I was going to say maybe with the current economic conditions, a Bond villain can't afford his own island, so he's had to go to an estate just north of Munich.
Downsizing.
Yeah, or he really likes craft beer. Or
maybe.
Yeah, craft beer, great lager. And he's like, well, if Giesinger, it's good enough for Giesinger, it's good enough for me. And James will never suspect my location next to a hipster brewery.
No, he's dead anyway, isn't he now? So he cares, right?
James Bond. Oh, yeah, of course. Oh, spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen the newest Bond.
Oh, dear. Well, you know what? You should have watched it by now, people, if you haven't watched it.
And I think he's going to be resurrected.
Yeah,
got a hunch.
Yeah, he'll come back. I got a hunch too. It's almost like it makes absolutely gajillions of dollars whenever they bring a James Bond film out. So I think Craigie just wanted to get out of his contract, didn't he? You know, he's had enough.
Yeah. They've never killed Bond before, have they?
No. They've killed his wife in Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Her Majesty's Secret Service, yeah. It's a Dalton one, isn't it?
Lazenby.
Oh, Lazenby.
Yeah. Who a lot of people actually rate as a James Bond, but he's freaking Australian. That's not... You can't have an Australian.
I think it's just contrarians.
Yeah. Who's your best Bond before we move swiftly on? Well, who's your most enjoyable Bond?
I mean, I've got to be honest. The films I've enjoyed the most have been Daniel Craig's, with the obvious exception of Quantum of Solace, which was absolutely
boring.
Awful.
It's pretty boring. Although I do like the actor
others.
that played the bad guy in that. It's a good actor. He was actually in the film Munich. I don't know if you've seen the film Munich. Talking of Munich.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's about the Munich. I think it was the Olympics, wasn't it? When there was like assassinations or something. I don't know. I can't remember. Anyway, he's in that, and he's good in that.
The plot clearly made an impact on you.
I can't remember.
Something about, I don't know, somebody died.
I can't remember. But it was good. It was good. It was a good film. So he's in that. That's called Munich. James Bond, Munich. I don't know where I was going with this, Johnny.
Oh my God, you've lost your own thread. I don't think that's ever happened on the Friday 5 p.m. Usually everyone else is grasping for the thread and you're just pulling yourself along.
It's weirded me out because I can't remember what exactly happens in the film. And I don't want it. So, that was it. Okay, so there's an aeroplane that's being held up by terrorists, I think. I think that was what it was. And then, no, they go into the Olympic Village and kill people. Johnny, I don't know. They go into the Olympic Village and they kill people. That's what it is. And then it's like the Israelis go and get their own back, sort of thing. Which I'm not pro-Israeli or whatever, but it's. I think it might be a Spielberg film. I don't know. My brain is mush today, Johnny. I saw a really strange film the other day called Innis Main is how it's pronounced, and it's the guy that did Bait. I don't know if you've seen that film, but it's like a super 16mm black and white film about Cornish fishermen in a little village, and the locals are getting pushed out by London types that are buying second homes there and stuff. So it's like a real gritty portrait of like a changing village and how it's sort of not fair and all the rest of it. Anyway, I went into this film maybe expecting more of the same, and it was absolutely terrifying soundscape, psychedelic weirdness, like a horror film, set on an abandoned Cornish island with a lady that started to grow lichen out of her chest, like the little mold, not mold, more like a kind of fungi. It's totally bizarro. And I went with a friend, and I just kept looking over at him thinking, fuck, I hope he's all right, because it was immensely loud and super weird. So that's why
you can't remember the film Munich.
Yeah,
it's like erased other films in your brain.
Kind of in shock still from watching it. It was just so totally bonkers, man. It's really bizarro. But I kind of enjoyed it, but it was weird. Talking of weird, I've also been listening to a type of an artist, a musical artist I've never ever considered listening to before, called Little Yachty, Johnny. He's got a new album out called Let's Start Here, which is I don't know how to describe it. It's like psychedelic funk. It's totally psychedelic, and it's had like Mac DeMarco and Alex G and all these sort of like Chairlift, the guy from Chairlift, like all sort of indie superstars have helped him produce this album. He's, as far as I know, he's like a weird mumblecore, maybe not mumblecore, but like a rapper, but like little whatever, those little guys that are all kind of new wave rappers. I don't like that sort of music, but this album is pretty weird and interesting. I'd say go and have a listen. There's one particular song which is real funky called Running Out of Time, like we are on this podcast because of my ramblings. But go check out Running Out of Time, Little Yachty. That's my musical highlight of the week. It's quite an interesting album. Quite strange. Quite very, very strange, actually. But lots of people that I like in indie alternative sort of rock music produced this rap album, Johnny. It's bizarre. It's really, really weird. It's good.
On this podcast, I often try to leave, like, I feel like the best way to respond to your soliloquies is to leave an awkward pause afterwards. Just a moment where I can, through the sound waves, through time and space, connect with the listener and sympathize with them. Just like,
what's going on?
I'm here too. We don't have to understand what's happening. We just have to go with it. Yeah. The problem is, every time I leave a gap, you fill it.
Exactly. I'm a gap filler.
So,
yeah.
But you did just leave me one there, and I was about to go. Anyway, we went to Munich, which I'm now going to do. Anyway, we went to Munich, and we had a wonderful time. We weren't there for very long. We went to Giesinger Brew. We also went to Spartan Brewing.
Yeah, that was cool.
There's no video coming out of that. That was book research. But we did also film a rather special video, which Brad alluded to, in which we left the urbanity of Munich. It gets very urbane outside the beautiful centre. And, well, we interviewed the Prince of Bavaria.
The Prince of Bavaria, yeah. Leopold.
And we saw a 500-year-old document, a legitimate version, an original.
Yeah. OG.
Although I think they could change the cover.
Yeah. Ring binder wasn't that hot, was it really? Or whatever it was that was covering it. It was a bit...
Could have put more effort into that. But what's within it is real, is legit. the prince's great grandfather signed it,
Mm.
and we will be bringing you the story from the horse's mouth. Horrible way to describe a prince. Of the Reinheitsgebot very soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we did in Munich. We saw a lot of the sites. I showed Brad Schneiderweiss, Augustina Keller. We went to Hofbräuhaus and met. We were going to have a Patreon meetup, and we did, just with one Patreon.
Shout him out. Shout him out.
We didn't realize this at the time. No. One of our favorite commenters.
We had no idea.
Mr.
He didn't
Rougelot.
say, "I am Mr. Rougelot." He introduced himself with his real name, which obviously we didn't know his real name. But he was super charming, lovely, and we had a great night in Hofbrau. I thought it was excellent.
We did.
We should have bought one of those giant gingerbread hearts, Johnny. That would have been a nice touch.
You were the one that dismissed it. You were like, I don't want a big gingerbread heart. What you didn't know was she was also the pretzel salesperson.
I know what she was. She did keep dangling the pretzels at me, which was, they're big as well. Big pretzels, Johnny. I'm not being lewd here, by the way. They were gigantic
well, you're
pretzels.
not intentionally, no.
No, I just realised as soon as I said that it sounded very rude. I didn't mean it for once. I just thought those pretzels, they keep just dangling them around. Maybe they're display pretzels, but I thought I don't want a pretzel that you've been flouting around too much, Johnny. I want a fresh.
I think it's
pretzel.
not oven fresh, right?
No, definitely not oven fresh. We were in there for a good couple of hours and just dangling the same.
Maybe it's like cask ale, like they have a good turnover.
You'd hope so, right? But I hardly saw anyone buy one. But didn't somebody tell us that the food was good in there? And we just maybe dismissed it. It was too touristy that the food wouldn't be good.
Yeah, somebody did. That might have been the
Stefan,
guys at Giesinger.
Yeah, I think it was Stefan.
Yes, yeah. But there we go. So we can't vouch for the food. The beer's decent. It's obviously better at Augustina Keller. Edelstoff from Oak Cask was as good as ever.
My
bit of a religious moment for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I love Augustina Keller, and that is a really truly beautiful place. It's we walked into what looked like a park. I guess it's the beer garden, isn't it, for them?
Yeah.
And it wasn't snowing right then, but it had been snowing a lot, and there was a lot of ground snow,
wet.
And it's all like twinkly garland lights everywhere, all on these giant trees, and you sort of look through the kind of cold, misty night into the middle distance. You can see a sort of soft glow from a beautiful old building, and in front of it, loads of locals playing this sort of curling type game with sort of wooden bell looking things that they were sliding down.
They look like toilet plungers.
Yeah, almost like a toilet plunger, yeah. And they were just sliding them down the alley, I guess, and drinking and not falling over somehow. I don't know how they were doing that on ice, not falling over and sliding. But it looked great, and I thought, I want a bit of that. But then I thought, actually, I want a bit of the beer.
4 or 5 pints of Edelstoff.
Yes.
And some pork knuckle.
That was a great night. Yeah, the pork knuckle was excellent, as were the bread potato dumpling things with bacon in. They were very nice. Very nice, Johnny.
Man, you just made me want to go back saying that. But we maybe we will. Maybe we'll be back for Oktoberfest, I hope.
Oh.
Just while we're on the topic of trips, next week we are off to the wonderful Adnams to continue our... I mean, it's not a series, but it's a little twist in editorial that we've made where we want to tell more of the significant regional stories of not just cask breweries, just, fascinating bigger breweries with heritage in the UK. So we are visiting the wonderful Adnams next week. We'll be talking about Ghost Ship. We'll be talking about Broadside. We'll be talking about the lighthouse you see in all their branding, which is a beautiful thing. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to visiting Adnams. One of my favourite cask brewers. I drank a lot of Broadside when I was pre-craft days. That was a beer I was always excited to see. I was a cask ale drinker before all this nonsense started happening. So I'm excited to have some fresh Broadside and talk about the history of that beer.
Yeah, me too. And another thing I love in Southwold, apart from obviously Adnams, is on the pier there is a thing called Under the Pier, which is an artist called Tim Hunkins. Weird art installation of alternative arcade machines that he's made himself, and they're all totally crazy. So you can sit in front of this weird TV thing, and you put your 50p in or whatever, and then you get the perspective as if you're a fly flying around. So it's like fly vision when you stare in it. And people are like trying to swat you and stuff. And it's got all just mad arcade machines. We maybe we will go there.
We'll have
if
to
we have
find a
enough
way.
time. It's
Do
properly
you know
weird.
him? Have you ever spoken to him? Can we?
No, I've never spoken to him, but it is honestly, genuinely, it's really fun and weird, and I love it. So I go there whenever I go up to Southwold, or if I'm near Southwold, I will try and get there to have a go. Have you seen Be Kind Rewind, where they make their own sort of film sets and all this weird stuff?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, man. But this guy's made his own arcade machines. Totally crazy, really amazing.
Well, we'll have to visit if we can.
Yeah.
Beer news in the news this week, which it's rare that Brad finds the news before I do. I'd heard that Brewdog were going to be releasing a Nitro Stout to take on Guinness, but then you sent me the glassware,
I did.
which is it's goddamn outrageous.
I mean, if we're being kind, it's a homage. If we're not being kind, they're definitely fucking riding the coattails of Anspach's London Black. It's so similar, looking. It's crazy.
The glassware is deeply frustrating and a bit outrageous. Clearly, I think the timing of it. I think there's two reasons that they're going for it now. One is I think that they've seen a huge success for a small brewery and gone, we can go for this. The other thing I think they've seen is the fact that in the news, so Guinness has become, by revenue, the biggest beer in the UK, which is a remarkable feat. People say dark beers don't sell. People say that most people don't drink dark beer. There's still all these weird rumours about dark beer giving you worse hangovers and all this kind of nonsense. But now, by revenue, not by volume. So more Carling liquid is actually sold and consumed. But because Guinness is more expensive, it's close enough to Carling that it's now the biggest by revenue. And I think that... So that was announced fairly recently, but Brewdog would have been aware of it. And I think they've gone, right, this is a good time for us to be like, right, we're going to take on this behemoth now. And essentially it's... is it Dead Cat Theory? Where they're doing everything they can to distract from the fact that they're a horrible company run by a narcissist. And this is how they're going to do it. And I think it's... If I were Anspach and Hobday... I'd be very angry and slightly worried about this because they've put I think about 70% of their volume now is London Black, and now they do have a genuine, I guess in inverted commas, small scale competitor, and one that is marketing itself off the back.
They're
of London Black.
Exactly. They're marketing themselves off the back of Anspach's success, and they've got distribution and they've got the means to be able to get it out into many, many places. I think I read them saying that they're gonna put it in a nitrogenated can as well, which I
believe Anspach are also working on.
They want, obviously they want to do it, but that costs so much money for a small brewery to be able to sort of accomplish something like that. It's it's just frustrating, isn't it? When people innovate and then the big guys kind of see success and try and emulate it or grab it for themselves.
It is worth noting that Brewdog have had Jet Black Heart for a long, long time.
Yeah. But it's totally different.
And I don't know
It's
whether
a
the beer's
different
been
recipe. It has.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly that. It's a switch in messaging and ambition that has come off the bat that they've seen success on a small scale and indeed successful on a large scale. And, I can see the Brewdog salespeople going out to pubs being like, well, did you know that Guinness is now the biggest beer in the UK? It's a great opportunity for you to support independent, ethical, whatever nonsense they're going to spout. Yeah. And, I think that most of the people serving London Black at the moment couldn't care less that Brewdog are doing this. The customer of Anspach and Hobday are more discerning. But I just worry about the growth, I think, of London Black now that they have a competitor that's probably... Because I'm sure the beer is going to be pretty decent. Whatever you can say about Brewdog, and lots of people say the beer's shit, it's not. It's mass-produced, but it's mass-produced to a certain spec, and it's decent enough, Yeah. So, yeah, it's really interesting times, and I really hope that the beer industry... the beer industry that we mostly operate in and talk about continue to take London Black to heart and, stick a knife through Jet Black Heart.
Oh, I like it.
So, it's exciting to see dark beer getting a bit more column inches and a bit more interest. But, I really hope that the right people continue to win this glorious little fight and little resurgence and little revolution. Right, that's all we've got time for this week. Obviously, we didn't have a video this week because of my illness, or last week because of my illness, but we do have a video next week. It's an incredibly exciting video. It should be a homebrew video if everything goes to plan. I'm about to check the gravity of this beer after this podcast. So I will know in about 10 minutes time whether there's going to be a video next week or which video it's going to be, and you'll have to wait until Wednesday to know. But it is one of the silliest homebrew ideas we've ever had, one of the most complicated, but equally it should be a lot of fun, so we'll see how that goes. Otherwise, we'll send some pictures to everybody from Adnams, and we'll see you next Friday for the second Friday 5 p.m. in a row.
Wait.
The Bubble and Friday 5pm podcasts are brought to you by the nerds behind YouTube's craft beer channel. You can watch over 400 mini documentaries at youtube.com/the craft beer channel. And if you love what we do, support us via Patreon and get access to merchandise and our amazing Discord forum, a positive and welcoming space for everyone who loves beer, food and homebrewing. Love and beer.